Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here, and it's time for a new video. It is time for video number 8 today in my top 50 albums list of the 1990s. Today we're going to be detailing albums 15, 14, 13, 12 and 11. And of course, after this video there are 2 more remaining, 10 to 6, 5 to 1. And there are some of my favourite albums of all time. Now when you know since making this list, I must have started doing these videos about 6 to 8 weeks ago now. Total prediction, I'm not sure exactly. But since doing this, there are already new albums which I'm looking at and thinking, wow, that would be in my list now. I love that album. And also albums that I just quite simply can't believe I didn't put in. To be honest with you, they'd all be between 40 and 50. It was unlucky that they didn't make the cut, but I'm talking Aphex, Still Life. I'm talking Nurs, Illmatic. I'm talking Big L, Lifestyles of Poor and Dangerous, I think the album's called. Albums such as that, Typo Negative, World Coming Down. 2 rap albums, 2 metal albums there. Love them. And they're not in my top 50. Well, that's the ropes, that's the way it goes. But anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, album number 15, my 15th album of the 1990s, is a metal album. It's black metal, progressive metal, nu metal and folk metal, so Wikipedia tells me. This band need to decide what they're doing, or they can just compile it all together, an amalgamation of music, ladies and gentlemen. That's certainly what this is, the debut album from the Portland, Oregon band Agalloch. And let me tell you, this is a masterpiece in atmosphere and pure melancholic metal. If you love metal and you've never listened to Agalloch before, and yet again, as I always say, comes highly recommended from yours truly. I love all first 3 Agalloch albums, Pale Folklore, The Mantle and Ashes Against the Grain. The last 2 albums, I can live without them, to be honest with you. I think the band might be past the best in my personal opinion. Really can't get into them. But they also did an EP in 2008 called The White, which is purely folk. Acoustic guitars all over the place. And this album, unbelievably heavy. Blast beats on the drums, chugging guitars, mixed in with experimentation of instruments. A lot of this music, you can imagine them making it in the forest, if you will. A real kind of pagan atmosphere. There's a lot of that in the lyrics. And it says here, the lyrics feature of paganism and nature, folklore, depression, the supernatural as well. And it's Beauty and the Beast. It's heavy, it's sad, it's melancholic. It is just an absolutely sensational album. I love this, and I must say, if you want to get into Agalloch right now and you're going to take me up on this recommendation, ladies and gentlemen, well, this is the best time of the year to do it, because genuinely, between the months of November to February is when Agalloch sound the best. They totally suit the winter, they really do. There's swirling winds in the track, or in the tracks I should say, as you listen to them. A real cold feeling. It's just so amazing, this album. I love it so much. She Painted Fire Across the Skyline 1, 2 and 3 open the album up. They are all separate tracks. Then The Misshapen Steed kind of slows things down with a purely folk track. Dead Winter Days is the heaviest and most straightforward metal song on the album, but I've got to say, for me, for my money, the best track on the album, the 12.5 minute epic, The Melancholy Spirit, which has these swirling wind sounds on it. You get this post-rock-esque kind of guitar, like a 4-5 minute intro before John Horn, the lead vocalist, comes in with these crushing vocals. It's just absolutely immense, ladies and gentlemen. But I highly recommend Agalloch to any metal fan. Yes, album number 15, ladies and gentlemen, Pale Folklore by Agalloch, my favourite track from the album, The Melancholy Spirit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, number 14, and it is the highest ranked purely hip-hop album on the list. The next album, album number 13, has hip-hop influences as well, but this is the last purely hip-hop album on the list, and it is Moment of Truth by the hip-hop duo Gang Starr, released in 1998 and running in an incredible 78 minutes in length. That is a really long rap album, but the guru, Mr. Keith Elam, had a lot to talk about, and this is hip-hop at its most purest, as Eminem would once say. Which song was that in? I can't remember. But it is, because it's just a duo. It's a DJ and an MC. And DJ Premier premiere, I should say. If you look at the music that he has made, sampled, produced, it's an incredible body of work. He has produced some fantastic musicians' music down the years, and alongside people like Madlib and Jay Dilla, he is one of the very best. He is known as one of the very best for a reason. And the master of monotone, the MC, Keith Elam, also known as the Guru, he is the master of monotone. That is his nickname. And that basically means, if you don't know what monotone means, that it all sounds the same like that all the time. So you think, well, monotone means boring, it means dull. And he kind of sounds bored at times, the Guru, but he can be aggressive, he can be melancholic. He's just quite unique, or he was quite unique. He passed away in 2010, just as I was getting into the band. If you want to call them a band. And for me, he's one of the best ever, even though he's not that diverse. Lyrically, there's a lot of inspirational themes and lyrics here. Mix that in. The production and the MCing from Gangsta was always top notch. You know, you get so many hip hop duos or hip hop groups or just rappers individually. They've got the fire in the belly, but the lyrics aren't there. Or they've got the lyrics, but they've not got the flow, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Here, it's all there, in my opinion. And Gangsta was so great. But this is their best album, in my opinion. And it is their fifth album, because the fourth album was 1994's Hard to Earn. And of course, in that 4-year period, so much had changed in hip-hop and in mainstream music in general. Grunge and gangster rap were out, and Britpop and just crap pop were well and truly in. But this album came from absolutely nowhere, and it was absolutely fantastic. You Know My Steez, Robin Hood Theory, Work, Above the Clouds, JFK to LAX. Oh, that's amazing. The Militia, What I'm Here For, She Knows What She Wants. You've got ballads, you've got melancholy, you've got sadness, you've got great lyrics, you've got hard-hitting gangster songs at times. My best song, though, my favourite track on the album, apart from In Memory Of, which is a great dedication to all people who Gangsta cared about, who'd passed away in the previous 4 years since the album was made, even a dedication to Princess Diana in there, funnily enough, is the actual self-titled Moment of Truth track, which is basically saying we all must meet our moment of truth when we leave the building. It does give me goosebumps, and please, please, please listen to that song, Moment of Truth. Album number 13 now, ladies and gentlemen. Please, please, please listen to this one if you haven't, because you're missing out on one of the best albums ever. Not even going to make a real introduction. It's Rage Against the Machine, self-titled debut album released in November 1992, running in 53 minutes in length. It's a hybrid of a rap metal, funk metal, and alternative metal. There's a lot of funk, there's a lot of rapped vocals, heavy guitar, great drumming, and unbelievable bass playing by Mr. Tim Comerford. Some people might be a bit surprised how high this is in the list, but let me just talk you through the track listing here. Bomb Track, Killing in the Name, Take the Power Back, Settle for Nothing, Bullet in the Head, Know Your Enemy, Wake Up, Fistful of Steel, Township Rebellion, Freedom. Some of these tracks were used on the Matrix soundtrack, so everyone will know Bomb Track, everyone will know Wake Up, everyone knows Know Your Enemy, featuring vocals from Tool's Maynard James Keenan, Take the Power Back, and obviously Killing in the Name, but songs like Settle for Nothing and Township Rebellion, which people don't know as well, are just as good. Like I said, everyone in this band is on top form here. Tom Morello's kind of innovative guitar playing is unbelievable. Zach De La Rocha, I can't say I agree with all his politics, but I can't deny his genuine passion and enthusiasm and aggression in this album. It's pure headbanging brilliance, and it is the album maybe, that a lot of bands have tried to replicate down the years with a new metal influence, but none have come close, in my opinion. Absolutely none of them. This is a true masterpiece for me. It really is. Evil Empire and Battle of Los Angeles are great albums as well. And Renegades, which was released in 2000, was a covers album. That was pretty solid as well overall. But this is Rage Against the Machine's true masterpiece. And yeah, I'm probably going to leave it there with that one, not talking too much about it. My favourite track on the album is Take the Power Back. Absolutely sensational. Will we see another Rage Against the Machine album? It's looking unlikely, but nevertheless, that short discography was fantastic. I've not listened to Rage Against the Machine for a long, long time. I might have to change that after this video. Okay, album number 12 now, ladies and gentlemen, and it's those lovable Scousers, Anathema, Anathema. I don't know. 3 different ways to pronounce this band's name. One of my favourite bands ever, but I still don't know. I think it's Anathema, but for years I'd called them Anathema, even though there's no double E there, so it doesn't really make sense. And now I call them Anathema, but it should be Anathema. You know, it's weird, but all I care about is that the music is bloody amazing, ladies and gentlemen. This is the band's 5th album, released in June 1999 on the Music for Nations label. Running in at 57 minutes in length, and if I didn't say so before, this is a prog rock album. And Anathema, that's what I'm going to call them for the rest of this video. Anathema mix Floydian guitars with modern progressive rock and lyrical themes in their early days of depression and loneliness and all these kind of heavy feelings that carried on as they left their doom metal roots. And that is correct, ladies and gentlemen. They started out as a purely doom metal band alongside other bands at the same time who I all love, such as Paradise Lost, Catatonia, My Dying Bride, and Anathema. Those 4 bands were the masters of doom gothic metal in the early 90s. They all came out at the same time, and it was just an absolutely incredible wave at that time. And they've all changed somewhat from the roots, but they're all still making great music, all 4 of them. Catatonia, my favourite of the 4, to be perfectly honest, but Anathema aren't far behind. And this album, ladies and gentlemen, for me, it is the peak of their music. It's the 3rd album where they weren't purely doom metal, and they then had a break after, not this album, but 2001, A Fine Day to Exit, which was a bit more accessible, a bit of Radiohead in that album, I'd personally say, and then A Natural Disaster. But they had a 7-year break where they couldn't find a label. I don't know how a band this good. Until they returned with We're Here Because We're Here in 2010, and the lyrical change in that 7 years was incredible to hear as an Anathema fan, because a lot of those dark lyrics had changed and they were more embracing hope and, you know, energy and love and all this. Bit more cheesy, but the brilliance and the passion in the music was still there, and there's still an element of sadness and melancholy behind it all. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a fan of passionate, hard-hitting progressive rock, great solos, good vocals from the Kavanagh brothers, Vincent and Danny, backing female vocals from Lee Douglas, I think she is the sister of drummer John Douglas, then this is an album for you. I highly recommend it. This album is dedicated to the Kavanagh brothers' mother, who passed away the year before, and the song One Last Goodbye is her ode, if you will. And what a dedication. One of the most beautiful songs ever made, in my opinion. The album opens up with the track Deep, Forgotten Hopes, Destiny is Dead, Don't Look Too Far, Judgement. I think the track listings of this album are basically saying all that needs to be said. You know what you're going to get. But my favourite song on the album is, let's have a look here, what have I gone for? Don't Look Too Far. Absolutely gorgeous backing vocals from Lee Douglas, great solos, guitar, it's all there. Love this album dearly. Anathema, number 12 with Judgement. And at number 11, ladies and gentlemen, the last album in today's video is none other than a man who returned this year, just a few months ago, after a 13-year hiatus. It's none other than one of my favourite musicians of all time, the internet's and music's biggest troll, Mr. Richard D. James. And this is selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, and of course it is the Aphex Twin. And this was his debut album, released in February 1992, running in at 74 minutes in length on the label Apollo. And the production was done all by him. And as his mother says in one of his tracks, I can't remember what the song is, but you hear her in the background, she's saying, "You've got so many machines, Richard." It's absolutely hilarious. The amount of sampling that he's put of his mum and dad, and in his new album, Cyro, you can hear his wife, you can hear his children, like just talking or making silly noises or whatnot. He's got samples of him pulling metal chairs back. This guy has put so many sounds into the music. He's experimented just with unbelievable things. He is the master of melancholy, happiness, sadness, aggression. He's done jungle techno, purely Brian Eno-esque ambient. I wouldn't say there's nothing that he hasn't done, but it's pretty close. And this album is called Ambient, but there are still beats here. It's purely chilled electronic music, and I still don't think he's better this album. And the thing is, the production on this album isn't amazing, but it doesn't have to be. The machines that he was using, in the amount of them, at such a young age, must have been absolutely unbelievable. I can only think, what is my mum doing down there with those bloody plates? I can only think that the amount of machines he had back in the day was unbelievable. He must have just locked himself in his bedroom and just worked on this material non-stop. The man is a genius, in my opinion. And in this album, you've got Extal, you've got That, which is a purely ambient track. It's the most ambient track on the album. Pulse Width, Aegis Polis, Green Calx, Helios Fan, Ptolemy, which is pure Streets of Rage. You know, bloody hell. A lot of his more hard-hitting techno stuff reminds me of Streets of Rage 2 so much. Both released in the same year, funnily enough, this album and that game. Actium, Delphium, Headphelium. Songs that sound like they should be in the bloody periodic table there. I'm not sure if they actually are. I was never a science man, more of an English guy myself. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's an electronic album which has beautiful ambience, funny moments, beauty, aggression, and that's basically Aphex Twin in a nutshell across his different monikers, his different aliases as Caustic Window, Polygon Window, AFX. Supposedly he's done a lot of music on television, you know, for advertisements and stuff like that. He's made a lot of music which people don't actually realise he's made. The man is a genius, and supposedly after his 13-year hiatus as the Aphex Twin, he subsequently, after 2001's album Drux, he'd made music as AFX, but it's his first proper album in 8 years, I think. Cyro, just a great album, great return. He supposedly got about 5 or 6 more albums in the pipeline, and that is so exciting. And he's told us there's ambient, there's jungle techno again, there's albums that are going to sound more like my old stuff, and albums that are going to sound purely brand new as well, and they're going to change the game up. And when he says something like that, you listen, because the man is a genius. And this is just an album. I've got the t-shirt of the 85-92 logo. It's like the circle with the weird symbol in the middle. Absolute genius. Richard D. James, thank you for coming back, good sir. I mean, he changed the game up. He inspired people like, even, I'd say, Boards of Canada, Autica, Square Pusher, even today, stuff like, what's his name? The Flashbulb. He's a pretty talented guy. But they're all dedicating their material to Aphex Twin because he was the guy who made them step up and got them making this great music. You listen to early Autica, Square Pusher, Boards of Canada. He was the guy who got the ball rolling. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, 2 more videos to go in my top 50 albums list of the 1990s. Albums 10 to 6 next, and then 5 to 1, my top 10 albums of the 1990s. And I may as well just say here, because I didn't, Helios Fan is my favourite track from 85 to 92, Richard D. James, Aphex Twin. But yes, I've kept it under 20 minutes, woohoo, a lot of rambling, getting dark, ladies and gentlemen, winter is here, but the content is going to keep coming on the Alexander Hilly 123 channel, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, guys, see you soon.